Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us again this evening for our show. We're glad that there are people like you out in all of our cities who are interested in the issues that are happening in your city and in all of the 9 cities in Northwest Community Television's viewing area. Good government takes a good city staff, a good mayor, a good city council people, but also people like you that follow issues and then let your city council and your mayors know how you feel about them. So we're glad to have you with us tonight. And tonight we're going to be looking at how cities can stay competitive on into the future. A lot of our cities are looking at ways to make their city more competitive with other cities, and our whole area is wanting to do that. So I've been talking with several of the mayors and city council people over this past year, asking them what's happening in their city, and that's what we're going to be looking at tonight. So we're very glad to have you with us. Take down names and phone numbers if you've got any resonance with the issues, and we'll move on into our first city council person. I read an article where Coon Rapids was talking about what do we need to be competitive on over the next 10, 15 years, and they had 3 areas that they were going to focus on, and I thought, that would be interesting to see what our cities are looking for to make themselves competitive as we move into the future. So what has your staff or your city council thought about? What does Golden Valley need to do?
Well, one thing that I'm very excited about, and I campaigned on this. In fact, my lawn sign said Golden Valley's future. And I would like us to get into the regular practice of looking 25 or even 50 years into the future and start identifying areas where we can have residential development or commercial. We want to provide a wide variety of housing options in our city, so that young singles can move into the city. They can marry and live maybe in a different type of home. They can retire and live in a different type of home. And all this through the arc of their lifetime, we want them to be able to find residential options in Golden Valley. We also want to provide an array of employers in Golden Valley, so that people can, so that we have the tax base, and so there's an incentive for people to come to Golden Valley and stay in Golden Valley. So that, in my mind, is a major effort, development, both of commercial and residential property. I also see us doing significant things with our transportation ways. For example, in 2015, we're going to start with the improvements on the Douglas Drive. That's and part of that's going to include bicycle trails. We just reviewed a study by the by Hennepin County, or it was funded by Hennepin County, to add a bicycle trail along Golden Valley Road, and the Bassett Creek Trail. We continue to expand bicycle trails in our community, and adding bicycle trails. We are intent on becoming bicycle friendly and pedestrian friendly in Golden Valley.
And there's a lot of interest in people in that.
Yes. This came directly out of the Envision Golden Valley effort of a few years back. I'm very pleased by the trails that have been recently built, plus the ones that are going to be provided along Douglas Drive. In my mind, I see us over the long term now making similar improvements to all the Hennepin County highways that run through Golden Valley, which would include Glenwood Avenue, Medicine Lake Road, Golden Valley Road, and Winnetka. But we're starting with Douglas Drive. So there are some folks on our city council that are also interested in starting a separate group to try and make Golden Valley a destination city, to market it as that. And certainly would be supportive of something like that.
Right.
But I think my main effort would be to take care of business of providing residential options, providing commercial,
Right.
commercial base, and having the finest transportation that we can provide.
Mm-hmm. And then, are there any areas that you're thinking of, or do you see a connection where either the state legislature or Hennepin County or the Met Council needs to be an integral part of what you're doing, or off on the edge, or just kind of reflect on that?
Yeah, there's a couple examples of that. One is fairly small, but near and dear to my heart is we've got some activity at the state legislature now, which would allow the Brookview Community Center to serve adult beverages, like regular beer and cocktails.
Right.
Right now, they can only serve 3-2 beer, and we think with the lawn bowling that's coming in there, that if we could serve, regular beer and cocktails, that we could do quite a bit more business there. The other thing, and this is a little bit longer of a shot, but there's some effort at the state legislature that would help us to improve Highway 55 by enhancing pedestrian crossing.
Oh, sure.
At some points along there, and also some effort at 169 to maybe look at more sound walls. I know the community in New Hope's talking about that as well.
Yeah,
so,
they're putting in some.
The 169 is kind of lagging behind the other highways that 394 and 55.
Yeah. Now, I've been asking everybody during the early part of this year to think about something. I saw an article that talked about Coon Rapids wanting to make themselves more competitive in the future, and I thought, well, I suppose our cities are doing the same kind of thing, is that you have to deal with the current things you're doing, but also looking a little ways ahead, maybe 5 or 10 years, because you're going to be competing for businesses and for people to move in. And so I'm asking, and had asked you ahead of time so you have a chance to think about it. What is the Crystal City Council or staff, or what have you been hearing in your community for what Crystal needs to do?
What I'm hearing in our community is we're taking a look at some of our ordinances.
Okay.
I don't know, we haven't formally done it yet, but there's been an awful lot of talk about creating new ordinances, or eliminating some of the old ordinances that don't apply, and rethinking some of it. We think that a lot of the ordinances are a barrier to businesses starting or businesses growing in Crystal. So moving forward in the next couple of years, I think you'll see a lot of discussion in the Crystal about how we can, support our businesses and make them flourish, easier in Crystal. Because we don't want to be that barrier. We want to be there to help them.
To be known as a city where it's easy to start a business.
And in the last few years, we've had a lot of properties that we've purchased through the EDA. So we've had a lot of vacant properties. In the last couple of years, we've been selling a lot of those off. When I became mayor, one of my biggest pushes was, okay, we're going to see a little bit of economic recovery here. Let's get ready. Let's position ourselves to where we don't have one builder. We have 2 or 3 builders.
Sure.
And that's what we were able to accomplish. So we've got a lot of new building on some of the vacant properties in Crystal. And
that increases the value of the neighborhood, right?
Increases the value of the neighborhood. It increases
the overall city.
It takes some of the burden on the tax levy. It puts it back onto property owners, because city doesn't pay property taxes.
No, right.
And that whatever we own, the citizens are essentially covering the services that that property may actually cover. So what do we got? Businesses, we got homes. I think those are the biggest things.
The biggest threats to the future, right? I
suppose my philosophy, and it's taking some time to have those conversations and have people understand. My philosophy is to reduce our debt.
Okay.
I believe that there's there's a lot of debt. We have a fund that pays for our debt, and it's substantial, and it's what's underlying all of our street assessments, our reconstruction street assessments,
Right.
and our alley assessments. All those assessments, there's bonding underneath them, not for the maintenance.
Right.
I think that will be funding without bonds,
Right.
but. So there's a large amount of money that is being spent to service these
Right.
debts, and I'm trying to move us to a place where we're not using them as a tool regularly. I'd like to get us to the point where we're using that in case of something is
sure.
unexpected.
Right.
I mean, really, if we're planning properly, we're saving for what we're planning for, we
Right.
shouldn't need to bond. You know, the way our forefathers in Crystal
Right.
decided to do the street reconstruction project, they did it via assessment.
Right.
And that's fine. I'm not planning on taking that and derailing the street
Right.
reconstruction projects because of that philosophy.
Right.
We're so close to being done. We're going to finish. You know, we've only
You're
got
in a good stage.
Yeah, we're in
Right,
a great
right.
place. The city looks fantastic. I mean, really, you look at some of the places that were done last year, and where there were no curbs and no gutters. It just changes the whole feel of the neighborhood.
Now, do you think that the city needs to work with like Hennepin County or the Met Council, the state legislature in any of the areas that you mentioned?
Well, we do. The Met Council has a direct impact on our comprehensive plan.
Oh, right, right.
I mean, they're telling us what we can and can't do.
Right.
And that becomes somewhat of a push-pull thing with the Met Council. You know, they think our population should grow to this. Well, we're fully developed. How do we do that? We can't, redevelop fast enough to meet the numbers.
Right.
So yes, there is a lot of other agency interaction, especially with Met Council, state as well. One of the biggest things that's going to impact Crystal is going to be the light rail when that comes, and it's going to affect the functioning of our city, our ability to move from across 81. And that's going to be a lot of negotiating. I mean, we know what's going on with Southwest. I don't think it's going to be.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be any prettier up here.
When
I don't know.
Botano Boulevard gets to their part.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
And right now the cities are putting on paper their concerns as far as what some of the light rail concerns might be.
Then I'm having everyone on this year, because it'll kind of make a compilation of it, think about what does New Hope need to be competitive as a city as you move into the future, maybe 5-10 years down the road. What are you doing now that you think is going to help make our city more competitive?
One of the things that New Hope has, we don't have a lot of retail. We know that. So adding the Hy-Vee is huge. The other thing that's happening is not everybody wants to live in a house.
Okay.
And so I think the homeowners in us have to realize that not everybody wants to live in a house, and there's an awful lot of young people that want to live in apartments. And so I think by building these 2 apartments is a really good step. I like the fact that we have housing for everybody. We have starter homes, we have step-up homes, we have nursing homes, we have apartments. So I think we have a wide variety of things. One of the things we're doing is we have a very strong police force. I think that police force makes people feel safe. Our cops very often go out to apartments to talk to the people that are there. I want the people that live in New Hope to feel safe. When they feel safe, they don't want to move. And I think that's the thing that makes us competitive. We can put in little grocery stores and we can put in little restaurants. I'm not sure that's the right answer. I think making people feel safe, and transportation's huge. Transportation's a problem.
Oh, right.
It is. We the bus company tells me that they'll run a bus when there's people. There's people, so there's no bus.
Right.
It's like chicken and egg, what comes first.
Right.
This Botano line should help. even though it's not coming in New Hope, it's coming very close.
Right.
More buses would help. We lost our 5-city bus service.
Right.
Which
right.
is really,
For
really
seniors,
too bad.
right?
But, and Prism quit their bus service.
Right.
So it's something we're talking about, and how to get around and how to get people moving, get them on a bus or get them to their
Right.
jobs.
And then are there any things that you're looking maybe for the city to implement in the future that would be helpful, or is it still in a talking process?
You mean like...
For competition for the future?
Well, we really don't know.
Okay.
We really don't. I haven't heard anything. We think what we're doing is right.
Okay.
We haven't lost people.
Right.
We haven't gained a lot. We should gain a lot of people with this new Centra homes.
Right.
And these Center Point or Compass Point
Right.
and Gates of New Hope. So we should gain new families. This referendum that just passed in 281 makes our schools competitive.
Oh, right.
When you
right.
have a strong competitive school, you have a strong community. And that's going to encourage people to move into our city because we have good schools.
Right. And anything that maybe the city would like to see the Met Council or the legislature get involved with?
We're very fortunate to have Ann Rest living in our community, our senator. And we have Lyndon Carlson, who lives right across the border in New Hope, or in Crystal. But he takes care of a lot of New Hope.
Right.
And Mike Freiberg. Having these senators and representatives gives us a real insight into what's going on in the Senate and the House. They're very, very supportive of all the communities that they serve. I don't see that we're going to change much at all.
Keeping up with some things in the newspaper, I'm getting a new question for this year. Last year I asked people about redesigning government, so I'm going to have to look at my notes so I can follow this. But in order to stay competitive, suburban communities have to change with changes in the marketplace. And some cities are planning and redeveloping for future generations. All of ours are thinking forward to some amount. And it's a process that goes on over time and part of your comprehensive plan. But as an example, Coon Rapids had a thing in the paper the other day, a little while back, that they have a 3-front approach to revitalizing their city. Now you're in developing, so it isn't quite the thing, but that they were going to do one, spur business and home redevelopment along Coon Rapids Boulevard. And they're going to put some things into programs to help encourage people to redevelop their own homes. 2, they were going to put money into a home remodeling program so that people would do large-scale renovations. And 3, they were going to put money into parks to facelift part of the city and trails. So what is Maple Grove City Council and staff, what have you been discussing in relation to ways to make your community more competitive in the future? Obviously you're doing all the things you think you need to do now, but are there some special areas that you're looking at to keep you competitive?
Well, I don't know if there's special areas, but I think that there's a couple things that we really focused on. One is trying to keep that retail Main Street area growing and vibrant, and so that's why we have a focus on bringing in some additional housing there. It helps, if you have 1,000 new units within walking distance of those retail outlets, that keeps them vital.
Each other,
they support each other, and bring new businesses to that community as well, because if you're bringing employees there who have to come there, they're going to shop there. And then I think that throughout the rest of the city, we've been engaged in a process over the last number of years to revitalize and revamp parks, especially. We put a lot of money into some revitalizing of the parks and redoing of the playground equipment and bringing a lot of those things up to the higher standards that exist today. Then because as we are in the eastern half of the city, those parks need to be redone to bring them really some new types of playground equipment that the kids like to play on. And so we bring
things change too.
Things change, so we bring that to those parks, and we continue to try and make sure that our trails are maintained, and continue to have all those things done that help people out. Over the last few years, we've added the Madison Lake corridor from Fish Lake Park up to Elm Creek Park. So
Oh,
that's
right.
this huge bike trail, walking trail system that goes through the western part of our city. So, we continue to add parks, we continue to add trails, all in the hopes that people like living here.
Right.
And it adds to their lifestyle,
Right,
and
right.
it really makes their lives better. And I think that you've really seen it with we've really had a tremendous explosion of bikes and other things in our community.
It's really grown over the years, hasn't it?
And so we have a fantastic triathlon in the later part of the summer that I think has become fairly well recognized throughout the state and nationwide. I know that both of the last 2 years they've had a lot of colleges there for the triathlon to try and get qualified for the
Right.
NCAA championships. And so they bring in people from all over the country to see our park system, and I think it shows off our city very well.
Oh, definitely. And then people will remember that in the future, maybe when they're thinking about moving.
Yeah.
And has your council focused on any specific areas that you're going to implement in the future? Let's say in the next 5 years or so?
I don't think in the sense of specific areas of town.
Yeah.
I think more we've talked about, we want to continue to see the revitalization of our parks,
Okay.
especially the older parks, to make sure that they are what people expect in the community. And then I think that the other thing is we want to continue to focus on that downtown area and bring new homes, bring new businesses to that part of the community so that it can stay vital.
Are there new sports or new activities that people are starting to get into that are ones that are on the horizon of thinking what to plan for?
Well, I think that one of the big expanding areas is lacrosse for both boys and girls. That's a hugely expanding sport, and I think that one of the things that has been helpful in our community is that with the new sports dome, we had it marked for both indoor lacrosse for boys and for girls, and so we have especially a lot of girls teams that come there because there are very few fields that are marked just for their sporting activity. So we've tried to be forward-looking in that sense. And I think the other thing that we've done is about 5 years ago or so, maybe less, we opened a golf frisbee park up at Elm Creek Park Reserve. So we have a beautiful, it's certainly one of the better, if you're a frisbee golf player, you know about our park and our golf course because it goes through the beautiful Elm Creek and it has those, it's really a fascinating golf course.
Yeah, because there's a growing concern about maintaining fitness and physical activities.
And I think that that's where some of that focus has been.
Right.
It's more of it isn't necessarily organized sports, but the sense of people want to be out and active, and that's one of the things that we were happy to help with the Elm Creek Park revitalization, and we're involved some in that, and certainly that park up there is a great example of activities you can engage in. It has a 5K cross-country ski aspect to it that is all man-made snow. Pretty much if you're a high school cross-country skier, you come to Elm Creek Park Reserve every Saturday morning because they know they have snow.
You can practice.
And you can practice. And so the buses there are just crazy on Saturday morning with the kids because they're coming from all over the metropolitan area to ski there. Those type of things we have done and helped with and will continue to do.
And then are there any areas where the state legislature or Hennepin County or Met County would need to be involved in these future planning for needs, or where do you see it interacting?
Well, there are times where Met Council can help out. There's certainly some funding available through MHFA, the Minnesota Housing Fund, or some other, if you're trying about revitalizing some housing or especially affordable housing projects. We try to, as a city, we've tried to be actively engaged in making sure that if a home is foreclosed or some other thing happens to a home, that we make sure that it is brought back into compliance and make sure we don't have problems with that home. So I think that my council can continue to help there. And I think that for the rest of it, I don't know that we as a city expect much help anymore because we've been told by the legislature we're not going to give you any help. So, we're not expecting any help from them. We know that we're going to have to probably go it our own, and we do.
Well, and then there is, wait, I can't think of the name of it, North Metro Mayors Association?
There's a North Metro
Yeah.
Mayors Association that we belong to. Historically, I was the president of it a few years
Yeah.
ago. You know, it's a good organization that involves a lot of the communities throughout the northwest suburbs, both on the east and west sides of the river. And we try to get together to talk about sort of mutual concerns that we as communities on the northern side have. And one of our continuing concerns is that we get shortchanged versus other
Right.
parts of the metropolitan area when
Yeah.
it comes to funding and dollars, and
Definitely.
whether it's transit dollars or road dollars or other help. I think there's been a feeling historically that we get left out, and that gets expressed as well.
And you need that kind of group to share ideas, but also to lobby for help for this area.
Absolutely.
As a body group.
As a body and a unit, because, you know, the communities that belong to the North Metro have a lot of legislators that are part of it, and if we can go in a uniform voice to them, hopefully we can have some action, because we get sort of a bipartisan support
Right.
for what we think we need.
Right. And this is just my viewpoint, but cities don't get tied in as much with the political differences of parties. Do you
No,
think?
I don't think we do.
I don't think, at least what I watch.
My experience is that I think most city council, most mayors are doing their best that they can for their cities.
Right.
And they, more often than not, don't care what the politics are. They don't care about the partisanship of the politics. They simply want to do what's best for their cities and accomplish that and move on.
Yeah, because that's what I see in the cities that I keep following and watching, is that it doesn't have as much of an effect as it does when you get to higher levels.
Well, we're sort of at the bottom level of sort of that
Yeah.
democratic government, and we hear the complaints directly, we deal with the complaints directly,
Right.
and you know, I think we make a much bigger effect on the normal everyday lives of people.
Oh, yes.
And so we're trying to make sure that the effects that we cause are positive effects and not negative effects. And
We're glad that you watched our show tonight. We hope that you gained some information about what our cities are doing to remain competitive. And if you have any ideas for your particular city, call your mayors and your city council people and let them know what you think. We also encourage you to see us on our new sites. We have a new site on YouTube where you can see the shows that we've put on a couple weeks after we've taped them. And they'll be on for if you want to check up on some information or go back to a show that you missed. In order to find it, you would go to www.youtube.com/user/NW City Politics. Thank you for being with us, and join us next week for our second show, part 2, on how our cities are staying competitive.